On Saturday nights during the summer, when the sun sets on Hibbing Raceway, two racers have been there competing almost every race night for nearly 50 years, the number 35 of George Ledin and the number 13 of Roger Paolo.
I hung around the racetrack with Donnie Oz, and so I got pretty interested in that. My dad and Donnie were good friends. Then my grandfather raced flat track motorcycle racing back in the 50s and stuff, so it's been in the family. My dad raced back in the late 50s, early 60s. I started racing in 1979 as far as driving myself and, building cars.
I went to a race the first time when I was 17, and during that year, at the end of that year, my buddy let me drive his car, and it was just, I was hooked right there. I had to have a car the next year. That was 1973.
In a sport that has seen thousands of racers come and go over the last 5 decades, these two men have stuck with it. From converting street cars into race cars in their own garages to the high-tech, professional, purpose-built race cars of today, George and Roger are still grinding it out on the clay oval these days against an increasingly youthful, dedicated, and well-equipped group of modern racers. After all these years of racing, what keeps you going?
That challenge of doing better each time we go out. It's a natural high is what it is. You don't need any drugs or any phony stuff. It's just all natural high.
What makes these two drivers remarkable is their unparalleled devotion to dirt track racing. You see, after all these years and all those races, George and Roger share only a handful of victories between themselves. Despite the extreme expense, the untold hours of labor involved, and facing more than their fair share of adversity, they keep coming back, fighting tooth and nail, year after year, to battle it out on the bull ring.
No point championships, but I do have, I believe, 3 feature wins in late model.
What was it like winning those races?
That's what it's all about. That's what keeps you going. That's why you spend all those nights in the garage and spend all the money you can. And
Well, I've got 1 feature win and a few semi-feature wins and heat race wins, and second in points is the best I've done for championships. We missed 1 year. Billy Nelson edged us out. We had a motor failure, which cost us the championship that year. But
can you describe the feeling of winning that feature?
that feature felt really good. It's especially when you've been driving as long as I was without having a feature win at that time. So it makes you feel pretty good. But there's more to racing than winning. It's just, if I was just in it for the winning, I'd have given it up a long time ago. But there's the people you get to hang around with, and it's just learning something new all the time when you're out there. It's a challenge.
They don't have large sponsors and dedicated pit crews like many racing teams have. But what they do have is the heart, the grit, and the support of their families and friends. From assembling their own engines to building their own cars in the past, these two racers keep trudging forward and adapting in a rapidly changing sport.
I built a 69 Firebird in the 6-cylinder class. Built that, and then I helped my father-in-law build me a couple chassis, so I helped him build those too a little bit. And then I built one here a while back myself right everything, bent all the tubing and frame mounts, everything basically, except for a few items. But
What's it like doing most of the stuff yourself without the help of a large pit crew?
well, sometimes it's a challenge, especially if you don't have all the right equipment. So sometimes you got to get creative sometimes, but you feel pretty good when you can go out there and be competitive. Nobody's totally a one-man band. You got to depend on people too, and I've been lucky enough to have some good people help me along the way. My wife comes from a racing family too. Bob Royney is my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law is Mark Royney. He's TRC chassis, so it was in the family, so that made it a lot easier.
I actually used to have some help from Mike Nemi, and Mark Nemi used to help me out for a while when Bruce Nemi wasn't racing. And his son helps me now.
But you do the lion's share.
Yes, I used to build everything, the roll cage, rebuild the transmissions, engines, everything. I've had help now and then, but I've been working on myself most of the time.
Racers like George and Roger may not receive all the attention and accolades of a superstar racer, but they and other veteran racers just like them all across the country are the backbone of dirt track racing.
If the car is working well, I'm fairly competitive and have a chance to win, that's what it's all about. And you don't have to bring it home in a basket, basically. You know, you haven't wrecked it.
That completes a successful night.
Yep.
I consider a successful night when you finish the race and you're in one piece. If you break even or make a little bit of money, that's a successful night for me.
What keeps you going after all these years of racing?
Still the love of racing and being around the track and the people, and I can't wait for it every year. I love it.
Can you imagine yourself not racing?
Nowadays, a little more, and I've had a year or two where I didn't race, but I was always thinking about it and picking up parts and, you know, still working on a race car for the following year.
What does the future hold for you with your involvement in racing?
I'm not going to be racing that much longer, I don't think. But
I've heard you say that before.
yes, I've said it many times, but it's getting tougher and tougher, and money-wise, that's what's the toughest.
At some point, though, it's going to be your last night out there.
Yep.
Is that going to be tough for you to walk away from?
Yeah, I think it will be.
I don't think any of us really knows what the future holds, but we're gonna stick with it as long as we can and keep on trying to do better. And like I said, I like getting along with the people I've met through the years, and you know, I consider most of them my friends, you know, and I'm proud to say that I can walk up to most every one of them and they'll shake my hand and I'll shake theirs.
Do you think it'll be tough to deal with when you finally hang up the helmet?
Oh, I'm sure it'll be a bit emotional, but I'm sure I'll try to stay involved somehow in it, you know, help others if I can. Mm-hmm. Like they said, there's more to life than just racing, but like anything, sooner or later, you've got to know when it's time to pass the torch.
The casual race fan most likely will not notice them missing when they crawl out of their car for the last time and make their exit, but the sport will. Oh, the sport definitely will. For nearly half a century, these racers purchased a pit pass, bought a hot dog and a Coke, walked the pit area, and exchanged stories with other like-minded racers and crews. They quietly kept the tracks alive and contributed to the atmosphere of a night at the racetrack. But don't sell these guys short either. They are wily veterans, after all, who just might steal one last victory away from the jaws of a hungry young kid on a hot streak before they finally hang up their helmets for good. George, Roger, and all racers of the like, I salute you.